Hi, good morning. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. Guys, lots of changes taking place here at the observatory. We get our green screen delivered tomorrow, and I've been concentrating this week on learning and becoming familiar with the OBS software so that we can, up our game a little bit, in the hopes that we can attract more people and then in turn a little bit more funding for the observatory, and we can in turn then do a little bit more than what we are right now. And I think already we're doing okay. We have hit a really low point, this is the worst probably in the last 4 years, maybe 5 years, where we've completely run out of money, gone into our overdrafts, use our credit cards to the max. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are in the same situation. You just do what you have to do, and it's soul destroying a little. But if you've got the winning instinct in you, you battle it through. That's what we all do, isn't it, right, guys? We all fight it out to the end and don't give up. At least most of us do, and some of us, as we already know, find ourselves in situations where it's impossible. And I'm talking about British farmers that are dying, committing suicide every week. I'm talking about not just farmers in the UK, but in the Middle East, and everywhere. It's a hard time for all of us. And I remember this one thing what my nan said to me. She's gone now, and bless her cotton socks, but I remember one thing she said to me. We used to have these card games on the evening, every month. The family would get together, we'd have a card game. We'd have what we called a buffet halfway through the card game, where we'd either order a takeaway in, and we'd all have a good feed, and we'd have a bit of banter during these card games. And my nan said to me, Gene, the secret is just breathe. And I remember when she said that to me, and I just nod my head now and say, yeah, that's really all we can do is carry on breathing. And I've recently, I hope I don't come across as rambling. I'm just speaking from really the heart. I've seen, I can't remember the actor's name. He's just published a book called Green Lights, and I watched his interview on Sky News where they was interviewing him, and he was talking about his book. And during the lockdown, that's when he's written this book, and it's about opportunities. We get green lights, we get red lights, we get amber lights. And I think this is something which will reflect on a lot of people. It's just a way of describing. When we think we've got a red light, like I'll just put it in perspective. He was talking about his father had passed away. And at the time, it was like a red light was on, And he said, these times, we can experience times where we feel the red light's on, and, we feel it's a real negative situation. But, if we hadn't had that red light at this point in time, it wouldn't have encouraged us or motivated us or moved us in that direction where we would, then experience the green lights, where I suppose good times are taking place in our life. So you're probably wondering why we're looking at the Doomsday Clock, and I'll explain because I've got a gut instinct about next year. I don't think it's going to be good. And I was listening to Chemachensky, I think his name is, very popular. How would you describe him? A philosopher. I definitely would say he was one of those kind of guys. what he's saying is that, and he does, I think, mention the Doomsday Clock, and I'll just go down to the present day, because we know what's been going on over the last 30 years with the Doomsday Clock. It's been pretty much the same. The threat of nuclear war, climate change, and right now, we've got this global pandemic. So, it's not good times, but Chemachevsky has came out, and he's getting older and older, and he's like a lot of other people, a lot of other good philosophers out there that give good advice and genuinely express concern, like I do, about the future of the direction in which we're heading in. And it's not good. We're at 100 seconds to midnight, so less than 2 minutes to midnight. This is the lowest it's ever been, by the way. And I can definitely see why there could be a threat of nuclear attack globally, because right now things are getting pushed to the nitty-gritty, aren't they? I mean, we've got this pandemic, and it's causing chaos, to say the least. Really, it's causing chaos, isn't it? And it's definitely in all our living rooms. It's a big change from last year, where we never wore masks in shops. It's very depressing. I feel it like you do, guys. The insecurity is there, and you can't deny it. Where are we going to go from this point on? I got this gut feeling that next year, we're experiencing these bad times. I think it's going to take a considerable leap downwards in the tempo, and things are going to get worse, and it couldn't get any worse right now, because we know already what's on the horizon with regards to the pole shift. We've already got that coming. And things couldn't be worse than that. But we have, experts in the field, like economics experts and philosophers that tell us, that this is going to cause a Great Depression. At the moment, the infection is probably killing off, less than 0.01% of the population. But the Great Depression that will probably come along after this is going to affect 99% of us, and even some of those elites. I know at the moment, when they impose these lockdowns on us, for them it's good. For a lot of us that are self-employed, just trying to keep our heads above water, like the majority of people, it's not so good. It has affected us. It sent us, some of us, people to the wall. They're bankrupt now. Can you imagine how that is? You're on the waiting list for social housing. You've got no income. You've lost everything around you. And you're starting from the beginning. It's like being born again into this world. We come in with nothing, and we exit with nothing but the experience of what we've experienced during our lives. I don't really want to depress you guys, but we have to, as adults, consider what is on the horizon for us, and how we manipulate ourselves around these situations. And we've got to, I think that to take no notice is the wrong answer, but to pay attention is the right way. And to plan is also good. And it's really difficult, the reality of a lot of these situations is really difficult. We think we can all grow a little bit of extra food in our back gardens, but most of us have postage stamp back gardens. There is no way you can sustain yourself if you had no other alternative but to live off that land in your back garden, you just wouldn't happen. You know, you would end up eating the grass eventually, and the worms, and then the ants and the little things, you know, just to obtain a little bit of protein. You would definitely do that. And, you know, it's really hard to even comprehend such thoughts because we're not experiencing that at this point. But, you know, I will say this, like Chemsky said in the recent interview I watched him talking about, you know, democracy is under a massive threat at the moment. We've got a president of one of the most powerfulest nations that has refused to admit defeat. And, you know, I address this, and I know that at the moment the United States is torn in two pieces. And just from an outside view, you know, I'm thinking, is this really, really what we are witnessing right now? And I understand from, you know, both points of view. You know, at the moment we see that there's an electoral vote that has been in favour of Biden. He has won the election. And we also understand that President Trump is saying, no, hold on a minute, we are facing electoral fraud. And he has presented evidence of that happening. You know, dead people making votes, how can that be accepted? You know, we also, on the other hand, if we shift from the United States to another side of this world in Europe, have the European Union, which are not elected by anybody. These, in my view, are, you know, the gangsters of the nation that we live in right now. You know, these people are not elected. They've elected themselves. Nobody's voted who's going to control Europe at all. They're not voted. The guy in charge of European Union isn't voted in. He's elected himself. He's been supported by his friends and said, you'll be our leader for this duration of time. That's a real big chip on democracy, as far as I'm concerned. You can't help but, you know, delving into these topics. I know that, you know, we concentrate mainly on pole shift, and guys, I'm really trying to pull the rabbit out the hat for us. You know, I really want to, you know, I don't mind putting the extra work in to get familiar with the OBS software. I know to some people it's easy, but for me, I'm 47 now. You know, I've got to say, you know, writing program language was really difficult for me, and getting my head around these programs is not easy. But, you know, the one thing about me is I am so determined. When I set myself a goal to achieve it, I do. And I promise this one thing, you know, when I tell you guys I'm going to deliver something, it'll come. And you've got to remember, you know, it took 2 years to develop the software, self-taught myself to program that and build the electronics for the Trimag system. And, you know, that has, you know, made it easier for us to have things like the Illuminox sensor, the magnetometers that we've got in the field around the world. And it's not easy, but, you know, I've held my own, I've stood the ground, and I've kept my promise, and everything else that I've promised I will keep as well, so long as we are in you know, a situation to achieve that. What I mean by that is that so long as that we're not in a global war, you know, things haven't collapsed, you know, that will be delivered. But, you know, you must agree with me right now, is this world is falling apart. You know, when you start targeting people for the things that they say, you know, the freedom of speech, and you go out for them, when you start imposing things on human beings that you have really no right to do, then, you know, we've got to, you know, step back and have a look at where we are. Now, I hear these elderly people say, you know what, we're not really bothered if we pass away tomorrow, because we've had enough. We can see in 20 years' time what this place is going to look like. We don't want to be around. But you know what? Some of us I've got to try and change it. And, you know, I have showed us all how to do that. You know, when we look at one of the most oppressed nations in this world, we're talking about Poland, and how they overcome the communist system and was the first in Europe that was occupied by Russia to remove that communism. We can learn lessons from that, and we are not too different from that time to this time. You know, you must, if you've been around for a few years, guys, remember the fact, or you know, acknowledge the fact that these things come around and they go around. You know, it's like a cycle, and you know, we can change what we want to do right now. You know, when we hear what's going on in Amazon, like I reported the other day, you know, strike. You know, don't participate in these things that are causing the problems. You know, gather some unity together and stand shoulder by shoulder with each other. You know, we can overcome all this, what's happening right now, if we want to. But a lot of us are suffering from the slow boiled analogy of the frog in the boiling pan. You know, the temperature's been brought up slowly. But I will say this, and you've got to have some understanding of this. I think you will. Most of you guys will know this. Is that we are starting to feel the temperature increase rapidly with COVID-19, with, you know, the suppression of freedom of speech. We know we're approaching dark times, and on the back of all what's going on with regards to the things that we're in control of, you know, we are also the things that nature's in control of, and that is also working against us. You know, we're talking about the pole shift. I really wish I could say, guys, we fell off a cliff and we've hit the bottom and we've survived, but we haven't hit the bottom yet. We've not reached that equilibrium point of any of these situations. Grand solar minimum still continuing to decline. Pole shift still continuing to migrate across the northern hemisphere. You know, magnetosphere weakening. COVID-19, regardless of the virus, you know, the policies in place have not stopped. You know, they're continuing, and all that's happening is further and further suppression. You know, just on that note of COVID-19, the vaccine, Pfizer vaccine, which more than one company has put a lot of money into, and the stock market prices of that company has boomed. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of, you know, what our governments are doing, investing in private companies to produce vaccines, and who's going to reap the benefits of these monies that have been invested in there. I'm just going to say this, you know, the government in the UK and probably other countries with regards to Pfizer vaccine are going to release this, and it hasn't been tested against the time of reproduction, and it targets the proteins of RNA, and it just so happens that male sperm has tens of thousands of RNA proteins in it. You're telling me they've done the job thoroughly? Well, it's only been 9 months since we've had the virus. You know, it's only been a couple of months since they've tested to the 3rd level their vaccine, and still hasn't been peer reviewed. I'm interested into what the peer review is going to establish, and whether they are going to bring up the point of reproduction and the fact that human male sperm has RNA, and this vaccine doesn't target a dead or weakened COVID-19 vaccine virus. Sorry, it targets the proteins that make the vaccine up. Oh my God, we're talking super new technology, rushed through, untested correctly, and is about to be almost mandatory deployed on the human population. If I was in charge of the Doomsday Clock, I'd put us at about 3 seconds to midnight, It's just an analogy in any case, the Doomsday Clock to start with. But that's, I think, where we are. Guys, on that note, we'll leave it. We'll try and end it on a positive here. Let's look a little bit more optimistic. Yeah, we got a green screen coming tomorrow, and I'm really enthusiastic about using that, improving the content of these videos. You're going to see a lot more of Jean at the maverickstar Observatory, and we are going to try and push the boundary even further than improving the content on our channel. We've got one of the best microphones there. Hopefully the audio's good. We've got the boom mic, we've got the green screen, we've got some studio lights coming. We have the ability, obviously, I'm putting the work in to get it as good as what we possibly can. But you know what, I'm with you guys. We've got a great little community here, and before I end this video, I just want to say a huge thanks to a few people that have stood up to the line and supported us, because I think there's a lot of us that appreciate the work and effort that goes in here for you guys, to keep you informed of what's going on. We're not always trying to depress you with negative things. We're just trying to treat you like adults, which is what the general media doesn't do. And we will give you the unbiased information as we get it, and we'll let you make the decisions as you will, like adults, because we believe that is what we should be doing in this day and age, being open and informative. We all need to make our decisions based on the current situation. It'd just be nice if we understood the current situation. That's what we're trying to do here, especially with the targeted focus on this anomaly, the pole shift, and other anomalies as well. So I want to say a big thanks to you guys that are supporting us. I also want to just put it out there, that there is a link down there, guys, for you if you want to support something I think more than worthwhile. There's a lot worse than things you can do right now. And just remember how proactive we are. We build things, we promote in the field. There is not just me here at this observatory. We've got people around the world that are a part of it. They've got their equipment in their homes that deliver that data every month for us. They're the superstars. And you guys are too, for supporting. So have an amazing day. Try and do something today positive for you and your family. And I'll just mention briefly the links down there to support the observatory, and I'll say what I usually do, guys. As always, bye for now.